round rules. Let's look over them real quick. Great take nets you 400. Good take 200. Okay take gives you 100 points, and a bad take again 0. Let's move on to what was one of the more, if not the most anticipated divisional matchup of Week 2, featuring the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati with a very, very rough outing, especially offensively against Baltimore. Joe Burrow had another rough game. Came on a little bit in the second half, but the Bengals now back-to-back years they start 0-2. The bad news is, which is different from last year, Joe Burrow apparently re-aggravated his calf injury that he suffered in training camp. So definitely not the greatest of times for the Cincinnati Bengals. And given how stacked the AFC is, I'll start with you, Alfred, as our resident AFC guy in this show. Do you think it is more likely that the Cincinnati Bengals make the playoffs or miss the playoffs?
Through 2 weeks, even though it's very early and anything could happen. Again, you said they started 0-2 last year, and we all know that they went very far in the season last year. But the way it's looking, I think they're going to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, as you mentioned, Joe Burrow re-aggravated that calf injury. We got to remember, Joe Burrow had no practice time and no preseason reps at all this season because of that calf injury. That's number one. Number two, the offense has struggled. Yes, for those of you who play fantasy football, Joe Burrow gave you a great day because he and T. Higgins had 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. But at the same time, before that fourth quarter, that offense looked flat. The offense also laid an egg and was a dud in week 1 against Cleveland. You would think for guys who have played together with Chase and Mixon and Higgins and Burrow, you would think for guys who have played together for years, the way they've looked through 2 weeks, you would have thought that this was a team that was just assembled this offseason. It looks like they have no chemistry, no rapport. And if Joe Burrow, because as of right now, the rumor is, according to Yahoo, what I read before we got on the air, he may miss week 3. If he misses week 3 and they start 0-3 and he misses multiple weeks, because that's what they're saying, how bad he aggravated that calf, especially playing in that AFC North, it's going to be bad news for Cincinnati, considering that the other 2 great teams in the AFC, the Chiefs and the Bills, both bounced back in week 2 after some shocking and devastating week 1 losses. I think Cincinnati's in trouble, especially if Burrow misses, because their second string QB, I can't even remember his name. That's how much of a nobody he is. I don't think in that division with Cleveland and with your Pittsburgh Steelers that they're going to be able to hold up.
It's going to be tough, and again, the Bengals fans are hoping we never have to say the name of the backup quarterback, and that's never even a conversation to begin with. But again, with that re-aggravated calf injury, that again, he did suffer in training camp, and there's the discussion, hey, they bring him back too early. That's been a topic of conversation. That could be a real problem for them moving forward. To you, AJ, do you think it's more likely Cincinnati makes the playoffs or misses it entirely?
Well, it really does come down to this Burrow's nagging injury, and I'm going to have to say I think this injury is going to keep haunting him for the rest of the season. I think that's going to affect him either just day to day and affect his play if they keep playing him, or they'll have to sit him for a prolonged period of time to just give that injury rest. Either way, I think we're going to see some losses from the Bengals because of that. One good bright note, though, is that when you're comparing the growth of Joe Burrow's passing game and just yards alone from week 1 to week 2, he did increase by 270%. So if that trajectory keeps on, I mean, the man is going to have a career, an NFL career season. But no, I think it's scary, and I don't think you can sleep on that division. You can't start a season off 0-2 and expect to make the playoffs, let alone to 2 of your divisional rivals. So it's going to be very tough.
You know, as the old saying goes, if you come into the season injured, you're going to probably exit the season injured with that same particular nagging thing. So, yeah, like you said, with Burrow's calf, that could be a real problem. And again, by the way, you know, next week they play the Rams on Monday Night Football. That might be a laugher to a certain extent, but, you look at the Rams, how they're playing, even without Cooper Kupp, they're getting some of these younger receivers involved. Sean McVay's still a great coach. Nice backdoor cover on the last play of the game against the San Francisco 49ers. Cost a lot of Niners fans some money. So, thank you, Sean McVay, if that was your intention. To Barry Grant Jr. now, you're a big Joe Burrow guy. Do you think it's more likely they make the playoffs or miss the playoffs given the 0-2 start and the severity of his calf injury?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, listen, we have to give the guy credit in regards to what he's been in his career. He's been a guy that has been doubted since he's been here in regards to not his play, but how he can be able to lead this team to where they've been. Nobody ever picked the Bengals to get to the Super Bowl. They got to the Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line. Nobody said that they would make the year 0-2. They got to the playoffs at 0-2. They're 0-2 right now. Yes, he has a calf injury, but this is what the other two panelists did not mention in those 2 weeks. They played two teams with great defenses in that NFC, in that AFC North. Just because they're Joe Burrow's a little injured doesn't mean that those teams didn't play great football in week 1 and week 2 to kind of stifle that offense and keep them under wraps. Now, yes, Joe Burrow did come up injured, but they can be able to, not let him practice as much. There's no need for him to take first team reps right now. They can rest him during the week. He can be able to get as much treatment and play as much as possible. And I think that if Joe Burrow is on the field, he gives them the best chance to make the playoffs and win games. And so if you want me to have a decisive answer, I'm going Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and the Bengals make the playoffs.
Okay, that's fair. And again, that's a great point you mentioned about the fact that you could kind of rest him throughout the week. And the thing is too, again, offense is a timing thing. That's what you saw. A lot of clunkers from a lot of offenses in week 1. Just the timing wasn't there. A lot of guys didn't play in the preseason, so that tends to be a problem, or at least it has been the last few years. And so when you look at the fact that Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati offense, Alfred did bring this up. They did kind of get going in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's something they could use that momentum going into next week. Again, that is a home matchup against the Los Angeles Rams, and what happens to be a Super Bowl rematch. So we will get to our point total in just a second, but let's go to the comments. Alfred Parks, Devin, our resident Ravens fans in the comments, very excited about his Baltimore Ravens, hashtag Ravens flock. They look good, although there's some rumors regarding Odell Beckham Jr. and Kim Kardashian that could derail the season before it even gets a chance to get started. So we got to wait and see what happens. So Clint Alexander's in the comments. He says plus 400 for Alfred. Great points made. So you got a fan in the comments here, Alfred. So we'll see if that nets you the 400 there. Clint Alexander says 0 for Barry. You don't make the playoffs on past success. What the current team provides dictates what happens for the current year. Fair enough, Clint.
You don't bet against Joe Burrow. So I don't know who Clint is, but you need to go sit somewhere.
I gotta actually kind of on Barry's side of this one. Let's look at let's look at the point totals here. Alfred Parsar Jr., buddy, that was a great take. I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen, again, we talk about decisiveness. You're talking about the fact that if Joe Burrow, if this is something that could keep him out for a long time, this could be an issue for them moving forward. And so they lose this game against the Rams, like you said, they start 0-3. I'm kind of with you in the sense that it's a wrap for Cincinnati, just as loaded as the AFC is, and that calf, assuming he plays next Monday night, isn't exactly getting healthier. To you, Alex, good take. The only thing with you, Alex, is you gave me a solid take. I didn't get an answer. That's the only thing. I didn't get an answer. Will they make the playoffs? Won't they make the playoffs? It's just kind of, it's up in the air, but a solid take by you. And a Bear, I thought that was a great take. Listen, you're a big Joe Burrow guy. You're going all in on him. You brought some facts to the table as well. And listen, again, you don't bet against the guy who's done what he's done over the first 3 years of his career, no question about it. So look at there, we're going into round 3, and Alfred Parsons Jr.'s got a pretty nice lead, but it is tight. You're exactly right, Barry.